Our next and final speaker for this session is Akash Hingorani. Akash is an architect and urbanist who has tackled pressing challenges our cities face, such as pollution, traffic congestion, and environmental degradation. His work centers around creating sustainable urban solutions that reimagine cities as resilient, people centric spaces capable of addressing the climate crisis. As the principal and co founder of Oasis Design Inc., he leads a team specializing in transforming congested, polluted urban areas into thriving, livable environments. Akash, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for that intro. Uh, basically, uh, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks, Nitya and Gayatri, for pulling me in after all the challenges that we were having in Delhi with all the flights getting, rescheduled and whatnot. Anyway, so I've got a slightly longish kind of a presentation, and you've heard, I think, through the day, proposals and what ought to be done. So I'll be talking about a project that we have done in Coimbatore, which kind of encapsulates and shows you all of that in action. So we are like sponges ourselves. We listen to all of the experts here. I'm totally humbled with the kind of knowledge that is being shared. So what we try to do is aggregate all these points and demonstrate that into our actual project. And we are lucky to be having kind of put up this project in Coimbatore. This was a smart city project, and it's been winning all awards nationally, internationally. So just diving in, a brief background about all the other work that we do. I mean, these are projects across different cities, Delhi, Srinagar, Ahmedabad. So just to give you like a overview of what Oasis has been doing and how we look at city level interventions to kind of look at sustainability as the main theme, but also work under mobility and water. And we also kind of got selected, both me and Sujata, my wife, we got selected as the COP28 actioners. So we like this word, putting things into action is what that's my team. And we have also been collaborating with a lot of institutions, including NIOA here, where we try to mainstream whatever we kind of learn in practice. So we've also managed to put up, stormwater guidelines, which has now become part of IRC, which is something that is a book that you can refer to if you want to do urban drainage and whatever. So getting into Coimbatore, so this project, first of all, it was a massive thing, and again, I need to. We worked very, very closely with CDD, who is also here. They were our partners for wastewater, hydrology, biodiversity, and we had local architects. We had many people on the team. So broadly, this is where Coimbatore sits in the southern peninsula, and it kind of has a horseshoe kind of a hill arrangement, and then you have the river Noyal, and all these lakes are situated either north or south of the river. So basically, this was our brief that this was the about 1,000 acres, and we had to kind of look at a connection, so a 30-kilometer long green cycling walking corridor which would connect all the lakes. Now, when we reached there were a lot of slum kind of encroachments all along the canals and the lakes, which the city, under the court orders, was anyways trying to, kind of rehabilitate. But I'm just telling you, like all these kind of earlier slums would directly throw all the waste into the river. Now, the first time I went to site, there was this local architect who, kind of took us to site, and then we reached a particular place, and I was asking him, where is the lake? He said, no, we are inside the lake. I'm like, oh, okay. So that was the lake. So we landed up something, and you're supposed to imagine the lake here, and that was the edge of the lake, that wall that you see. So, completely dried up and, Uh, so finally, we went on top of a particular flyover and figured out a little patch of water. So we started understanding the seriousness of the challenge that we kind of have to look at, and how do we revive this whole system. Now, also, like everybody else has reported, there were like whole lot of garbage dumping and all kinds of things happening, sewage coming in. And they told us, like, our scope was, okay, this is your lake, so go inside the lake and you're supposed to fix it. They said, you can't fix a lake from inside the lake. I mean, all the inlets, everything has to be looked at holistically. And so we started like doing this whole, like a city-based analysis of the catchment and whatnot, and CDD as our partners, and we looked up all the historic records and figured out, what are the inlets, what are the outlets, and this whole system is like a cascading lake system that, all the hills, from the hills, you have a direct inlet into each lake, and the overflow goes into the next one, and finally, there's an escape route which goes into the river. There are also some anicuts on the river which bring water from the river to the lakes. So it's a very engineered system and built by the Cholas. Just imagine, I mean, that time this was the kind of thinking about water, and all this was irrigation tanks. These are all man-made lakes, by the way. So understanding hydrology, understanding levels, understanding, and the aspiration of the city was that, we want our lakes to be full. And just now we heard that some of the lakes should be empty and they should be able to do flood mitigation and all that. But on the other hand, if your lakes are dry and like what I showed you, without any water, so, alternatively, if you have water, even if the water depths are shallow, then it helps in something called, what we call the urban heat. So you have a better, microclimate happening. So CDD did this whole calculation of what is the percolation and what is the evaporation. We looked at all the catchment areas that each lake, what is the catchment. So based on the catchment, there were some codal requirements for the bund systems, to the height of the bunds, and everything was decided on that. We also mapped not only the land use, but we looked at each lake had a particular character. So being in a green area, it was more ecological, or in an urbanized area, it was more like a, urban kind of a lake. And the best part was that every lake also had two aspects mostly. One was more urban and one was more natural. So deciding on how do we tackle that. So the natural area should remain natural, while the urban areas should become a little more people friendly. So all those strategies started developing from there. Now, what was the challenge? This was the questionnaire that Nitya had shared, so I've kind of tried to, align with that. The challenge, like everybody told you, I mean, all of us know what the challenges are. So I'll just kind of... One challenge that we saw was that, some of the lakes were kind of blocked off. And obviously that become like backyards, and people were throwing stuff and all of that. Now, there was this girl on our team, Madam Gayatri, who's here now. As a kid, she told me that, once upon a time when she was a school kid, she would go to school and she could see the lake from here. And I was like, how is it possible? I mean, I can't see it. I mean, if you're so tiny, and how can you see the lake? Anyway, so I'll get back to that. We looked at all precedents of water bodies across India. So you talk about the Sabarmati riverfront, the Kankaria riverfront, Daryavati in Jaipur. Most of these were hard edges. So we are like wondering, is that the only way to handle a water body? I mean, is it so dangerous that you have to do such a hard kind of thing? And coming back to this, so we are like wondering, and Gayatri, when she told us that, we all started thinking, like, what has happened here? Why did this happen? So we kind of started, and the view was completely gone, and you could only walk on top of the... And we obviously wanted to, kind of open up the view. And then we realized that what happened was that some NGOs previously had tried to do desilting. And the government there being suspicious of any good activity. They said, you're doing desilting, that means you're interested in the soil of the lake. You want to do something with that soil, right? So we'll not allow you to take that soil. The condition for desilting is that you'll put the material in the lake only. You can't take it. So what did they do? They had to put it on the side. When they put it on the side, that bund actually cut off the view. And then instead of helping, it became like a dump yard. Out of sight, out of mind. So the more dumping started happening. So only when she told us about this, we did a detailed investigation and figured out, okay, codally, like the codal requirements, the main bunds have to be a particular height, the ring bunds don't have to be that. And then after a lot of negotiation, we started kind of looking at, how we can dismantle this. So it was a big event, but finally, once we proved to them, then we told them, okay, overnight, just take it off so that, we can, so this was the whole team celebrating. The approach, like what we did, we talked to a whole lot of local NGOs and, all the stakeholders, neighborhood levels, and then managing pollution. So I'll just quickly go through each of these topics. CRD was amazing here. Every inlet, and these are, I can't even tell you how bad or how stinking, how horrible each of these inlets were. So they went down every inlet, took samples, got test reports done, made a whole data sheet on how we want to handle it. And the best part about pollution, it's actually nutrient, which like somebody was saying in the morning, it's like what plants would love. So our whole approach was like not only map this, but also think of how we want to use nature-based solutions to help out. So just like everybody else was saying, mapping, diverting, collecting inlets, and then there was, like I told you, strengthening of the bunds. But here, for the first time in India, this project at the city level, we said we don't want to do hard infrastructure. We want to do something called living shoreline. So we tried our best to, kind of get the right gradient on the slope. We put these geogrid, we put the native plants, and my wife is a landscape architect, and those guys would sit on site. She would cover her head and get plants fixed and rocks put so that it looks completely natural. It is completely natural, but and even the material selection, gabions, precast, all this was done to avoid any concrete use on the lake edges. So the living shoreline was another concept that we're proud of having achieved. So again, CRD, revetment, what kind of section, the planting plan, native varieties only coming in, and then a whole, kind of a lake ecosystem. There was no ecosystem for us to restore. The project name was Eco Restoration. I mean, here you're talking about regeneration. There's nothing left for us to restore. So you're trying to bring back the, so bring understanding ecology. We had a fantastic biodiversity person, figuring out native varieties which will grow near water on the edges. Then you see these flowering plants, they're actually pollinators. I mean, they attract pollinators which go and pollinate the fruit trees, which will attract the birds. So, and this is the final palleted planting situation, which is like the edge of the lake now. So, so many trees, so much of carbon sequestration, and the whole idea of treating wastewater. So, like I told you, we CDD made all these designs for us to, kind of implement. In Delhi, actually, we had some experience working on the South Delhi Greenway, which was a project where we were again trying to demonstrate, how nature-based solutions. So this is a project in Shadra in Delhi where we have put phytorid treatment, and this we worked with NEERI as our experts. So this whole lake is filled up with sewage water after cleaning it, and the cleaning process is with phytorid. So with that, and this is what you see of the cleaning process. So it only plants and the water is getting treated by the system. And then we had a demonstration area, and this is like the build picture. So working with nature, bringing wetlands, how wetlands will be able to help us. Wetlands we use for two purposes. One was for there was an area which was dried up in a particular lake, so we created these shallow, stepped wetlands for the water depth to be just 6 inches. And this was also something that the biodiversity expert told us, that there are birds with small legs, who would want shallower water bodies, so shells. And so here you can see what the lake was and what it became, and how the wetlands are actually. So you can actually see in this picture the brown water in the first pond and the final blue water in the lake. So how systems are working, and the wetland itself became a feature where we also added floating wetlands. We've got so many birds coming in. And the whole thing about harnessing benefits of ecosystem services is what this project is trying to do. And like everybody was talking, like we wanted to demonstrate, even the water from the roadside, which is actually eventually going to go into the lake, if we can run it through swales. And by the way, here what happened was, we got a contractor. By the way, one more challenge that I would like to flag here: we don't have any capacity for people to actually implement this kind of work. So the contractors who were selected are mostly used to making roads. Now, they said, we have flattened it out, so just give us one section and we'll finish it. But we told them that this is not a road project. It's like 10,000 things that have to be done. And so what I'm saying is like challenges which we need to. And finally, like what has been achieved, that view of the lake has been restored, that bund went away. And we displaced a little bit of, wildlife. The cattle there had to, like the sun tanning spots went away. But there's a whole load of other native biodiversity which has come in. So I'll just run you through. These are just before-after pictures. All plants are native. So while doing ecology, we also try to bring in placemaking. So what you see is basic access to the place, and wherever we had space, we could kind of create places for people to hang around. So what was that actually has become that. And that's a transformation that has happened. And so dirty, you can clean it, you can't see it, make it more accessible. If it's the backside, make it the image of the city. And we connected it all with a loop. And here you can see now the kind of people who are coming here. Earlier, this was like the, like the dump yard of the city, and now it's become like the cultural whatever. I mean, everybody has to be there. If you're a visitor, extend your stay one day just to go and see all the lakes. And then we did a whole lot of, boating activities with floating pontoon jetties, ramps for disabled, and all of that. So these are floating walks, so they don't need any foundation, and they're like very, very, not intrusive onto the. But we did not have a connection. So, and this itself has become an attraction. People just want to come and see how that is working, and and then capturing all the beautiful views. This was a space under a flyover, which was so bad. Like my own team, people were complaining to my wife that I don't know what has happened. He's taking us to all these funny places. The locals would tell us, don't go here. You can't come back. We don't guarantee you. And today that's become a hub for the city to hang out, and like the cultural place. You have amphitheaters, you have food courts, you have co-working spaces, you have. So the turnaround is something that, while we do ecology, and like there are so many places like where you can do, these kind of events. We have a few, and today the city is kind of re-engaged with the lakes. We have lantern festivals and this and that. I've got Reshma here from Street Metrics, who did this wonderful kind of study on how this is perceived, and I'm so happy to share this. Like it's come out flying colors, everybody is happy. And this was the all the people who helped us to create this project. Thank you so much.